beginning of this exhibit was probably 10 years ago when some individuals that I know and care deeply about had the onset of some severe mental illnesses. I didn't know anything about it. And in trying to support those individuals, I started to seek out, what happens to an individual that might have schizophrenia or bipolar illness. The onset is late teenage, early adult years. And what I found was there are no really positive stories, no information about how prevalent these illnesses are. And what I wanted to do was create a body of work that would give hope and sort of more understanding about what these illnesses are. The implications are that we all have these symptoms, but it's all about different degrees. So the four major symptoms are depression and anxiety, and I think we can all identify with that, mania, and psychosis, the more difficult ones. But we do all experience those in different amounts. What I was looking to do was find people who had the more chronic symptoms and how they recovered, and give hope through portraits of individuals and the people who supported them through their life, and so that they had recovery. On the wall, you'll see 99 portraits, 33 with schizophrenia, 33 with bipolar, and 33 people who love them. It's a very broad and diverse collection. And the selection of individuals that are in the 99 Faces project follows the 2010 cultural ethnic diversity that was recorded, so that when anyone walks into this gallery to see this exhibit, they can identify with someone that looks like them. So it's to try and not say these are other people and should be pushed aside. These are all of us, so we're all in this. I've made, through the use of paintings, the research more accessible to anybody who walks in. So I think you can look at my paintings, get the essence of what the research is about in probably 60 seconds. So those are actually skin cells that show a difference in the mitochondria of individuals who suffer from these illnesses, and it's different. So the message in that is that this is not just in someone's head, it's a systemic illness, and we yet don't have any methods of treating schizophrenia in its full systemic onset to someone's body. Same with bipolar illness. Then there's a sculpture of the DNA strand, so that's 23 pairs of chromosomes, and that can appeal to anybody, even if you're not looking to learn about mental illness. But the DNA strand is the instructions to create you as you are. The whole reason we're all different, why your face is different from mine, your height is different from mine, our eye color is different, our fingerprint is different, is that the instructions have 25,000 genes, and they're all different between all of us. That's why there isn't a single person on the planet that's the same. And my message in that, if it drills down into the mental illness situation, is no one's brain is the same. So we're trying to fit and compartmentalize people into other groups when the understanding should be that we all think differently. I'm trying to talk about the uniqueness of an individual with or without a diagnosis. I think I'm very curious, and I'm always looking to take the value of science and put it into my art. Like behind me is painting that I did when I was curious about what the population of the United States looked like. So this painting is 850 squares, and I matched them to the skin color on 850 people according to the US Census data. And this is the color of our skin. And then behind some of these are the disease that lives underneath the skin, which would be a mental illness. So there's PTSD and schizophrenia, depression. I wondered how many people in a room, would be experiencing symptoms to the point that they were diagnosed, with an illness. So there's two sculptures in the exhibit. One is the DNA sculpture, which, here goes the science thing. It's like, I'm a little obsessive when it comes to science. So I made that DNA strand so you could see it, 1/16 of an inch thick. And it required 4 miles of fiber. And every single chromosome is done to scale, all 23 pairs. So the largest one is 85 inches long, because in our body it's 85 micrometers long, and then the smallest one is 17 inches. And so it took me 6 months with a workforce of 25 individuals, and we all learned where the genes were and where the proteins are and the histones and the amino acids and all of the stuff that is in that. So that was to sort of convey how complex we are as individuals. The second sculpture I made is to also address sort of the fact that we all suffer with symptoms. So the base of the sculpture is from a chart from the 1600s, which is the 4 humors. And the 4 humors were how doctors used to try to diagnose people. I used that chart because it was the old way of looking at things, even though it's not correct. It tells us that through history, we have always been interested in a person's emotional state and what makes them who they are. On top of the sculpture is a new way that we look at things, and every single piece of the sculpture has an organic form to it. So there's nothing with a straight edge. The bottom is completely straight edges, circles, and triangles, which is what was used. The top of the sculpture is organically cut, and I used 4 colors to indicate each of the symptoms. And I used the volume of color to the volume of the surface of the material to be the same as is indicated by NIMH, the National Institute of Mental Health. So the prevalence is based on color, but not one single part of the color is static. So it looks like it's flowing. And the implication is that we all have these things, but they are fluid states. Mental illnesses are fluid states. Somebody who even has the worst amount of psychosis is not always psychotic. So there are moments of clarity. So in the sculpture, there's parts of the sculpture that are completely clear, and then the light filters down onto the previous base, so that it almost looks like it's watery and fluid. The hardest part actually was the beginning of the discussion in putting it here at the Museum of Science. We felt like it needed to move out of sort of this desire for empathy, and people are fatigued with causes. So we didn't want to approach it like a cause, even though underlying the agenda is to sort of break down stigma, but to put it in the science context. I also know that the way that stigma is broken down is usually when a person meets an individual, whether that be a racial situation or something you've been afraid of before. When you come face to face and you meet someone, that usually helps break down a barrier. The message underlying is, we hesitate about mental.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. This is your brother Omar Sulaiman here at the Yaqeen Institute for Islamic Research. Over the years, alhamdulillah, I've had the opportunity of visiting Boston on a number of occasions. Sometimes it's been to the beautiful masajid that you have there, sometimes to some of the shelters that you have out there that are doing incredible work for the community. But this time, inshallah ta'ala, I'll be coming for CARE Massachusetts on November 3rd. CARE is an organization that is doing essential work around the country to push back and represents not just an organization, but a mindset of refusing to be bullied, a mindset of refusing to tolerate abuse towards our community or towards any other community that is being targeted. Inshallah ta'ala, I hope that you will come out and join me on that night, inshallah ta'ala, for CARE Massachusetts, so that we can continue to support them in their vital work. I look forward to seeing you then, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. This is your brother Omar Sulaiman here at the Yaqeen Institute.
Nowhere in the corridors of pale green and gray, nowhere in the suburbs, in the cold light of day, there in the midst of it, so alive and alone, words support like bones. Dreaming of Mercy Street, where you're inside out. Dreaming of mercy.
Vanita Gupta has been essential to the Justice Department's work.
Young people in Ferguson felt like they were criminals first and human beings second.
The rule of law has also been a source of oppression. Too many people in our country feel unwelcome and unsafe.
We can have policy wins and we can win in courts and try to save some lives. The deaths of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Eric Garner in New York, Tamir Rice in Cleveland, and others before them in since have really thrust our nation into a robust and critical dialogue over police practices, public safety, and criminal justice reform.
Let me reassure every transgender individual right here in America that you belong just as you are, that you are supported, and that you are protected.
The work to transform narratives that pervade all of our interactions every day in explicit and implicit ways is really difficult work. And we all know talk is cheap, and so it's going to take consistent action and commitment.
I want fashion and activism to be together. I'm known for being the first high fashion hijab wearing model.
Stop! What? My name is Halima Adan.
I was born in Kakuma, and Swahili literally means nowhere. But for me, it was home. Life in a refugee camp. These are a few things you gotta know. First, we don't want pity. That's like going off temporary feelings and emotions and that instinct for somebody to feel bad for you. What we want is to be invited to the conversation. So what do you guys want to be when you grow up? Okay, when you want to grow up? A pilot? Oh my God.
I'm not afraid to be the first, to step out on my own, to take risks and seek change because that's what being a minority is about. It's about using yourself as a vessel to create change and being a human representation for the power of diversity. I was the first Muslim homecoming queen at my high school, the first Somali student senator at my college, and the first hijab-wearing woman in many places.
Go and be the first, because you're opening the doors for the next wave of women.
Muslims have been part of this country from the very beginning. Part of, I think, not only getting to know someone who's Muslim, but also getting to understand their lives and getting to know them on a personal level is so critical. Muslims really want to be a part of this community, and they're doing it in a very big way. I'm Katie Couric, reporting from CBS News Election Headquarters in New York. These are the best of times, these are the worst of times for Muslims in this country. But maybe things are starting to change. From the world of sports to the world of fashion. And you are doing all you can to change the narrative, to show a different kind of Muslim story, the stories that really aren't told very much in this country. In other words, this is sort of the antidote to radicalization is the mosque and the community here. This is what it's all about, spending time with people who are different than we are, seeing them for what they are, mothers, daughters, sisters, people who want the best for their family, and learning from each other. And I feel like we're so judgmental and so instantaneous in our opinions, and often we do so without any kind of information or knowledge. And so I'm trying to fill in the blanks so people can have an informed opinion.
Katie Couric, everybody.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. This is your brother Omar Sulaiman here at the Yaqeen Institute. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. This is your brother Omar Sulaiman.
At football games and other dangerous expressions of faith like that. But now a Christian group says it is needed to stop the federal government from promoting the religion of Islam. According to the Christian Action Network, the Department of Education is funding educational materials about Islam distributed by PBS that are just thinly veiled propaganda for the faith of Muhammad, peace be upon him. A Department of Education spokesman told us the department does not fund nor encourage the use of particular curriculum.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, malik yawmi din, iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, ihdinas siratal mustaqim, siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Amin. The English translation of that is in the name of Allah, most compassionate, most merciful. All praises for Allah, Lord of the worlds, the most compassionate, most merciful, master of day judgment. You alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. Guide us along the straight way, the path of those you have blessed, and not those you are displeased with, or those who go astray. With that, once again, I welcome you to another episode of the History, Community Life, Diversity of Muslim Americans in New England. I'm Hasson, Rashid, your host, and I'd like to greet you or extend the ancient, universal, cordial of peace out to you in the Arabic language, and that is Assalamu alaikum. Okay, first, before we conclude our broadcast, well, we got off to a slow start today, so sometimes things are like they be, and there's no way that you can work around them. But first, I'd like to send out my condolence and support for all those victims in the southern part of the United States, Florida, who are currently in fear of Hurricane Michael. So, all I can say is be safe, and may you get through this with less damage of human lives and property. So be safe. That's all I can say on that. And once again, I'd like to remind you that October 17th is the last day that you can register to vote. So you get on out and get your votes off. Make your votes count. It won't count unless you go out and submit them come election day. So once again, October 17th is the last day that we can register to vote in the upcoming November elections. Okay, starting off the general meeting for the Uyghur. I have a very difficult time pronouncing that word. Uyghur Muslims. It's spelled Uyghur Muslims, and they are the Muslim community in Western China, and they've been having difficulties with the Chinese regime, the Red Chinese Communist regime. They're giving the Uyghur Muslims help. So today at the Harvard Islamic Society, they're holding. Would like to invite you to all of our first general meetings. They're having a big general meeting of the semester. This month topic will be Uyghur genocide in China and how we can best advocate for our brothers and sisters there. So you're invited to please join the Harvard Islamic Society 7 p.m. in the CGIS South Tasai Auditorium for much needed discussion. Dinner will be provided absolutely free. So that's a discussion on Uyghur genocide in China. Okay, so don't you miss that. Okay, and also the Plymouth area League of Women Voters will present Meet Your Muslim Neighbors and in a formal forum aimed at creating better understanding and open dialogue at 7 p.m. October 10th. So that's also today in the Great Hall of the Plymouth Town Hall, 26 Court Street. A panel of 3 experts from Greater Boston will discuss their experiences and entertain questions. This scheduled speakers are Sumaya Zuma, Boston Council on American Islamic Relations, Nicole Musalam, Muslim community activist and co-chair of Our Revolution, Massachusetts, and Martin Bennett, outreach coordinator, Islamic Society of Southeastern Massachusetts. Admission free and all are welcome. That's the Great Hall of Plymouth Town Hall, and they're having a big event there, sponsored by the Plymouth Area League of Women Voters, and the event is entitled Meet Your Muslim Neighbors. So if you're in the Plymouth area, get on out to see that. Okay, I got one more thing. Like I said, we can't prevent certain accidents, natural accidents that would prevent us from doing what we do. But I think this will be the last for this one. We're gonna take the broadcast out with go back to that video on Islam in public schools, and I meant to share some additional information with you, but unfortunately time won't permit. But when Sudanese immigrant Haywada El Arabi learned the U.S. government was India's temporary protected status that allowed her to live and work in the country legally for 2 decades, she sold off the restaurant that had been her life dream. Terrified to return to Sudan, able to fathom a life without proper legal documents, the 55-year-old was one of hundreds of thousands of immigrants who got temporary relief after a federal judge blocked the Trump administration from moving ahead with its plans. This is a good day, El Arabi said Thursday. She now works for a university in Massachusetts after obtaining her master's degree in bioinformation. So that was a good thing that they lifted the ban, certain aspects of the ban on Muslims, and now the Muslims can travel, but they're still on the terrorist list. In Sudan, Sudanese Muslims, they can travel anywhere they want to now without a ban, but still they're on that list of being a terrorist inspired country. So today they're having a big meeting about that to get their names removed off the terrorist inspired country. That's the folks down in Sudan. So I think that's going to be just about it for me. I have so much more for you I can share, and I do, but right now time won't permit. So until next time, I'd like to once again remind you that October 17th is the last day of that you can register to vote in the November elections here in Cambridge. You can go to 51 Emma Street and find out all about it. That's where the Election Commission is located. Okay, and also my deepest condolences go out to those right now who are currently faced with Hurricane Michael down in Florida. I'm Hasson Rashid. I always leave you with the fact that sectarianism can never be subjected by imperialism. Until next time I see you, I leave you as I came with the universal cordial of peace in the Arabic language, and that is Assalamu alaikum.
One wonders what exactly they do, and instead that's a strictly state and local issue. However, the PBS website clearly states that classroom lessons are funded by the Department of Education. We pointed that out to the Education Department. We're still waiting for a response from them. Martin Moyer is the founder of the Christian Action Network, and he joins us tonight. Martin, thanks for coming on. So explain how you believe the Department of Education is funding pro-Islamic propaganda. What are they doing exactly?
Well, first of all, if you go to the PBS Learning Media website and pull up the Islamic education programs, they have the Department of Education seal on it, and it says funded by the Department of Education. So we took a look at these various programs that are available for the public schools, and we were quite frankly shocked at some of the lesson plans that students have to achieve in the classroom. For instance, teachers are expected to ask their students, what does a Muslim prayer sound like? What do Muslim prayer movements look like? What are some of the things that Muslims say when they are praying? And you have to ask yourself a question.